Accidental cannibalism. What do you mean? Hey there, creepy peeps. I'm doing something that I haven't done in a while, which is a reading vlog. I've done a couple in the past and I figured it was time to maybe revisit doing one again, given that it's around Valentine's Day. I know this video is gonna go up after Valentine's Day. I spend a lot of time on Book Talk, but dark romance is a thing on Book Talk. And for anyone who doesn't know, I'm gonna read the definition right here. Dark romance is a subgenre of romance novels with darker themes and mature content. These stories often come with content warnings, morally gray characters, and plots riddled with trauma and violence. Popular tropes that make up a chunk of these novels include mafia, stalking, and kidnappings. So I wanted to pick one of these up for my own and do a reading vlog. You know, it's like probably the closest I'll get to like a horror romance book. So a nice like marrying of a genre I'm familiar with and one I'm not so familiar with. I had to be careful with my choice because there is a discourse on Book Talk about some of these dark romance books and how some authors kind of use that as an excuse. Like they use dark romance as a cover to write some really terrible things. Like there was a while on Book Talk everyone was talking about a KKK romance. I've heard talk of a QAnon fan fiction romance that is a very popular book right now. So I did notice this one book has been gaining popularity in my store, so I picked it up and I'm gonna be reading today Butcher and Blackbird, which is part one of a trilogy by Brynne Weaver. At least right now, having not started this book yet, I make no guarantees that I'm gonna read the other two books in this series because it's not really my genre. Also, I'm a lesbian. I'm probably not the target audience for this straight romance book. This seems like, at least according to my very like elementary level knowledge of dark romance, this seems more like what a dark romance should be. This is very Dexter. It's two serial killers that enjoy killing other serial killers. So there's kind of like, I guess there's that morally gray area the definition was talking about. Like technically they're killing people, but they're killing bad people. So this does say it's a dark romantic comedy. So I'm hoping that's also gonna kind of be like a pull for me, because if this is just like chock full of like romance scenes talking about this dude's like throbbing, I'm not gonna enjoy it. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, I feel like I could just keep talking forever to put off reading this book, so I'm going to start and I will check in with you guys every so often. I had to come back real quick. I didn't even start really, but I just wanted to point out there is a page of content and trigger warnings right in the front, which I enjoy. I really think all media should just like have this. I'm sure that's gonna attract some trolls in the comment section of this video now that I said that, but I figured I would read you the content and trigger warnings. So here it says content and trigger warnings. As much as Butcher and Blackbird is a dark romantic comedy and will hopefully make you laugh through the madness, it's still dark. Please read responsibly. If you have questions about this list, please don't hesitate to contact me at brynweaverbooks.com. Oh, that's very nice. Or on one of my social media platforms. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok. That's really cool. I don't know if it's actually her that responds or like one of her people, but that's nice. Okay, so the list is as follows. Eyeballs and eye sockets. What does that mean? What do you mean? Amateur surgery. Skin ornaments. Chainsaws, axes, knives, scalpels, a lot of sharp objects. Accidental cannibalism. What do you mean? Not so accidental cannibalism. Questionable use of a mummified corpse. Lobotomized manservant. Ill-advised use of kitchen implements. I'm sorry about the cookies and cream ice cream. In parentheses, I'm not really. What do you mean? And detailed sex scenes, which include, but are not limited to, cock warming, rough sex, praise kink, anal, adult toys, choking, spitting, dom sub interactions, genital piercings. I feel like I should just quit now. Nope. All right. Now I'm really starting. Okay. Oh my God. checking in 5 chapters in already. It's I mean, so far weirdly cute for it being serial killers. Nothing has gotten crazy yet. Nothing that you wouldn't have seen on like Dexter or something yet. Just a few kind of like mild gore scenes. Already it's very interesting to see this kind of like quirky girl, like rom-com style, but they be serial killers, because you have to suspend your disbelief clearly for this a little bit. Like there's some tropes in there, like I do know of like some romance tropes, like usually the series, it'll be a series of books, these romances, but they follow different characters. So you'll get introduced to side characters that know your main characters, and you already kind of know that they're going to be the main characters in the sequel. So this is meant to be a trilogy. Our male main character, Butcher, or Rowan, has 2 brothers. So I'm already like, okay, so they're gonna be part of the sequels. Stallone, Blackbird, has a best friend. She's gonna be the main character of one of the sequels for sure. Can already tell. It is weird though that each of them have people in their lives that know what they do, which, at least this is where you have to suspend your disbelief, I guess, because having read true crime, watched true crime things, I feel like serial killers don't usually tell people what they do. And I know they're killing other serial killers, so I guess that's the caveat there, but they both have urges. Like they're describing the urge to kill that a serial killer might have. So it's like there is psychologically something wrong there. Yeah, I guess I just have to suspend my disbelief a little bit. So they've just started the competition. The book opens where they meet for the first time, and then it's like a year later when they start this competition, which is kind of interesting, like if that's going to keep happening at least a couple of times before the romance really develops, that it's happening like every year. I kind of like that, at least. They're like a little bit older. I'll insert a little clip here. When I was reading the list of trigger warnings, there was a couple on the next page, and I just did not flip to the next page. I think I was so shook by what I saw already. So I did miss 4 other bits of the trigger warning. So it also included references to parental neglect and child abuse, parental loss not depicted, references to child sexual assault not in detail, and then it ends with, it's a book about serial killers, so there's some generally messed up murder and chaos. Also a playlist for the book, which honestly, I love that. I am a sucker for that. I love a good playlist. So that's just a little fun thing. I just wanted to check in and talk about that. So I'm gonna keep going. I've been at it for like 30 minutes. So I'm gonna keep going. Just wanted to check in with that little update. Okay. I have some thoughts now, and weirdly, not for the reasons I thought I was gonna have them. I really haven't gone to any of the triggers yet. Oh, Daisy's coming. Hi, Daisy.
Hello. Did you want to be on the video?
Almost 100 pages in. I'm at page 90. And honestly, so far, I haven't seen Sloane kill anybody, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Rowan, so far, has killed someone who turned out to be the serial killer they were hunting for their first competition. Sloane figures it out first, so I feel like technically she won, but Rowan kills him because he was watching Sloane in her room. And it's like a macho, she's mine sort of thing, which I'm just eyes rolling into the back of my head, but whatever. But it's almost 100 pages and Sloane hasn't killed anybody. She's also a serial killer, and I feel like she's been relegated to this like nobody understands me, love struck girl. Like literally she's talking to her best friend after this happens, this competition happens. Her best friend who knows what she does. What is it? I miss the way he makes me feel like I'm not an aberration, but unique. And she's saying like how nice it is to, quote, lay the mask aside. You're literally talking to somebody who knows what you do. So you have people in your life, or a person at least, that knows who you are, but okay. And also it takes 80 pages in to actually learn what Sloane does, like as her day job, which we learned that about Rowan earlier. It's a bit weird. She goes to Rowan's restaurant because that's what he does as his day job, again, which we learned way before we learned what Sloane does as her day job. And it's like all women that work there. It's like one of those scenes where she just like goes to the restaurant, he doesn't know she's there, and then she tries to leave, and then another woman comes in and is all like, Rowan! And you know, it's like one of those scenes, and then she leaves and she's sad. I would also like to point out two of the women that work here, Rowan and his brother Lachlan, both yell at them for stupid things in this restaurant. So like I said, Sloane shows up to the restaurant and is just eating there. She's being a little like schoolgirl crush stalker, and she tries to leave when she sees Lachlan come in because he would recognize her, right? So she goes to leave and like Lachlan recognizes her right as Rowan comes out and sees that she's there. It's like a whole thing. So Rowan like yells at the hostess, Meg, he barks, shifting his attention to the front door as he gestures toward me. What the fuck? Meg, the hostess freezes in place, the color draining from her face as though her blood has been sucked out with a straw. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, chef. I meant to come tell you, but got sidetracked. So they were supposed to, so they all know what she looks like. They're serial killers. Like, why are they? So she knows, so the hostess is supposed to know what Sloane looks like and let Rowan know if she ever shows up. And so she gets yelled at for not telling Rowan that. And then, let's see, her server during this scene, Jenna, goes to clean the table Sloane was sitting at because that's what you would do in a restaurant. Do not touch that fucking table, Rowan snaps. Jenna's eyes widen as they shift between us, her lips folding between her teeth, the clamp down around a smile as she turns on her heels and heads for the bar. So he like yells at two women. Just for, it's all a bit too straight for me. I know going in I'm not the target audience, but it's being made very apparent that I'm not the target audience. If Sloane doesn't get to kill somebody in the next like 15 pages or so, it's 345 pages. I'm almost 100 pages in, so about a third of the way through, give or take, and she still hasn't killed anybody. She better kill somebody soon. Maybe, can she be so mad at this whole embarrassing interaction that she goes and kills somebody? Please. Come on. That's what I need. And I haven't gotten to any of the triggering things yet. It's just some light murder. Like, I watch horror movies, so this is fine. Again, almost 100 pages in, and all those trigger warnings, are they all gonna be like at the very end? Because that might be a bit much for me, but. Okay, let's go. What do you think, Daisy? Do you have thoughts?
Do you have thoughts? No.
Tell us your thoughts, Daisy. Tell us your thoughts. Yes. Very profound. Daisy's actually the smart one here, in case anybody didn't know. So, thank you for that enlightening commentary. Appreciate it. Love you. Okay, I'll keep going. And there's the accidental cannibalism. On the plus side, I've made it exactly 15 pages from my last little rant, and it looks like maybe Sloane might be murdering somebody. Finally! And also I figured out the cookies and cream ice cream thing from the content warning. Ew! Ew. Oh, I am a little less than 100 pages from the end. I was making like really good progress through most of the day. It is about 4 o'clock now. And I've read 255 pages. Started at about 11. Definitely slowing down in reading because clear it's just a romance book. Everyone typing, Vicky, what the fuck were you expecting? It doesn't even feel like dark romance though, you know what I mean? I feel like them being serial killers is an afterthought. It feels like them being serial killers is an excuse for the male main character specifically to get violently protective. That's what it feels like. Because Sloane really hasn't done much killing at all. Before I sit down for like my final reviews of this, I'm gonna mark the pages specifically. Even the content warnings, I guess like when they're listed out like that, it sounds a lot worse than it is. But like even when they've shown up like, oh, okay, I'm expecting this, the cookies and cream ice cream scene. I was like, okay, it was like gross, but it's not that bad. They're at the house of a serial killer who is a cannibal, and he had homemade cookies and cream ice cream, and the secret ingredient was cum. Like, it's just gross. It's not really particularly disturbing, and it's just like, that kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit. I think that would make anybody want to throw up. Why ruin perfectly good ice cream? I've gotten to the part in the romance book where they finally have sex. They're having sex now for the second time, but there's still 100 pages left, which worries me that there's gonna be a there's only one thing that could be on the horizon if everything's going good for them and there's 100 pages left, and that is the dreaded miscommunication trope. I'm hoping that's not it because they're serial killers, so please just let it be something darker. Maybe that separates them for a little bit. The miscommunication trope is abundant and it's abundantly annoying. So I'm gonna try to finish this before it gets dark out. I don't want to spend the entire day reading this. I've mostly spent the entire day reading this. But I'm gonna try and power through. I've slowed down because there's no killing. And that's what I get. It's a romance book. It's not a horror book. What I want to read is a horror book. Weirdly, and this book made me want to throw up. Genuinely made me want to throw up, but I have to say, at least right now, Exquisite Corpse did it better. And that book made me physically ill. But I feel like Exquisite Corpse is the horror version of this. And it's gay, so at least it's a little more interesting. No offense to any heterosexuals out there. Okay, let me try and finish this. Fuck's sake. Like, I know the title is really just a clickbaity title. This wasn't scary at all. But it also wasn't as dark as I thought it was gonna be. Like, I feel a little like we could have gone darker. But I guess if it had gone darker, it then becomes a horror novel? Like, it's hard to tell though, because like the way you hear about books on TikTok, they're obviously like hyping it up a little bit. And people who enjoy it are like really excited about it. And I think that affects how they talk about it, and it makes it sound like, ooh, okay, this is like really dark, this is really crazy. And everyone's threshold is different. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, if you thought this was dark, then you're a wuss, because I hate that commentary no matter what it's about. Everyone's threshold is different for different things. So just because I found this to be rather tame doesn't mean it's not intense for somebody else. I feel like maybe I have a little bit of an understanding though of dark romance books. I always assumed they were a little bit like more intense than they maybe actually are. But then who knows, this is supposed to also be a romantic comedy, like a dark romantic comedy, so maybe I need to try one that's not trying to be funny at all. So there were dark elements, there were comedy elements. It definitely was a lot of banter, a lot of millennial humor. I don't know the age of the author, but they use the word hella, like unironically, you know, like, oh, my uncaffeinated brain, you know, like that kind of stuff. So I've marked the pages where there are murders. Now don't get confused. There's one that I put 2 different colors on the same page, so it is just one murder here. And I color coded it for you. So out of the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 murders in the book. The orange ones, the orange tabs, so 3 of them are off page, meaning you don't actually, there's no detail in the murdering. The person is already murdered, and maybe they're just talking about some gore and stuff afterward, but the person's already murdered. The person's dead. They're a corpse. The yellow tabs are our male main character doing the killing, and the pink tabs are female main character doing the killing on page, meaning they're actually murdering somebody. There is one, I technically gave it to both of them a little bit. The male main character in this murder, he gets like all the fun, like, you know, the slicing and things like that, and then she inadvertently, accidentally, not meaning to, scares him to death with his mother's corpse. That was the questionable use of a mummified corpse content warning that we read about. I kind of gave it to both of them, even though she kills him on accident. I'm disappointed that it took over 100 pages for Salone, our female lead character, to get an on-page murder. And both of Rowan's murders, our male main lead, both of them are in a she's mine, I'm gonna protect you rage. And I know they're killing other serial killers, but it's just, I don't know, it was a little much for me. Like it was a little too straight for me, you know what I mean? That like overly possessive, I'm claiming this person. Yeah, it was a little much. I'm all for like a touch her and die kind of moment, but the whole like, she's mine sort of thing. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm like, are these serial killers, or or was the serial killer thing just a front for our male main lead to get like violently angry? And then the part where I slowed down in reading, I know that was part of the vlog, happens. There's like 100-page stretch between this murder in the middle and the last ones. It's like a huge chunk of the book where there's no murdering or no blood and guts of any kind, really. It's just a lot of sex and then fluffiness, and I'm like, okay, but they're serial killers. I guess maybe this was the wrong book to pick up if I wanted a dark romance, it being a comedy. Clearly this wasn't as dark as we could go. I kind of fear that if I wanted a true dark romance, it would probably veer into the problematic territory, which I'm never gonna do, because I'm not gonna put my money to that or put my eyeballs to that. Rowan has a full-on, like full-fledged career outside of his killing other serial killers. He's got his like restaurant thing. He's a chef. He opens a whole nother restaurant in the book. And Sloane, it just mentions that she's like a data analyst. And then there's like only one other mention of like, she's doing work from home, and it's very vague, and it's like, so her like her like actual like career in life is like not a thing. Sad thing kind of as well, doesn't pass the Bechdel test. That sucks. Sloane has one friend, aside from when she meets Rowan, Lark, and every scene that they are talking in the book has to do with Rowan. It does not pass the Bechdel test, which is just sad. You can't just have one scene where they're not talking about they're not talking about a man. I know it's a romance book. I know. This is why I don't read this. All of it's just confirmation. I'm gonna get so many comments like, well, clearly you just shouldn't read this if you don't like it. I'm just saying, like, would it really have made the book worse if like 2 named female characters had a conversation that wasn't about a man? Would it ruin the book? I don't think so. I don't think it would have. Just because it's a romance book does not mean that every single scene and every single line and every single page has to be about the romance. Because I've really not read any other genre of book like that. Like even horror books, not every single page and every single line is something horrifying. There are other scenes in between the scary stuff. So it's like, drop some other stuff in the scenes between the love scenes, right? That's all I'm saying. That's all. The twist, I feel like there was no hints to the twist at all. So it really just came out of nowhere. And I think we could have been given a few more hints if maybe Sloane was given some more depth as a character. So basically the twist is during the kill scene where she kills the cannibal, and the cannibal has, I think I mentioned it earlier in the vlog, he has like a servant who's like a lobotomized man. It turns out he's not, and he's actually a prolific serial killer. Sloane, thinking he's lobotomized, makes Rowan hire him in his restaurant to do dishes. So through like this whole portion of the book, he's working there, and it turns out he's a serial killer. So the whole twist is like she knew, which would mean she intentionally made Rowan hire him so that she could keep him around for some sort of long game. But she knows he's a serial killer this whole time, so that she can do nothing about it. For like, at what point was she going to do anything about it? At what point were we going to get a hint that maybe she knew something? And then it's just going to be very convenient at the end when everything is good for him to come in and like try and ruin their relationship. And then and the sad thing is, like, that kill, which is this kill here when she kills him, is the coolest moment in the book. Like, it's like really the only time she's like a complete badass. Like, she's a cold badass serial killer who's killing other serial killers. It just kind of sucks that she didn't have the depth where we didn't have any hints throughout the entire book that maybe she knew that or had been tracking this person. Hadn't even heard of the serial killer. They didn't even drop his serial killer name, you know, like the title that they all have. Didn't even drop that throughout the book to give us a hint of, be like, hey, this might come up later, and then we'd be surprised, oh my god, it came up later. I'm being super critical. Did I like anything about this book? The gore bits were cool. I liked the gore. I did like it was a slower burn romance. I did appreciate that. There was insta lust for sure. But as they play their game, like, they're meeting up every year and then they're like communicating in between. So there's that kind of like slow build up to the romance, which I appreciated. I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't for me. I am far too gay for this. And the thing is, this could be done well and gay, I think. It definitely could be done horror. I stand by what I said. Like, Exquisite Corpse, if anybody has read that book, or if you haven't read it, that is, Exquisite Corpse is this, but gay and horror. So, I mean, that's it. I'd definitely be open to suggestions if anybody has any book recommendations that you think would make a good reading vlog, like something shocking or crazy you'd think it would just be funny to see my reaction to. Let me know. If you liked this, maybe check out my It reading vlog. That one was a lot of fun. I read it in 3 days. And a lot of people did not like my reaction to that one scene with the kids in the tunnel. If you know, you know. So if you want to watch something potentially controversial, you can go watch that video. I will see you next week with new content. Until then, stay strange. Bye.